Hi guys, Mother Nature here. I hope all is well. Now in today's video, I am going to talk about the different methods you can use to preserve food for long term. You probably have noticed that some items in the supermarket are expensive, or even some items are becoming difficult to find. So I think it's best to preserve the items that you use on a normal basis. And these methods, the methods that I'm going to show you, that you can have in the future years, even years down the road to come, because these methods can preserve food for years. Now, the first method is using the Mylar bag. It comes in different sizes. It comes bigger and it comes smaller. And what you do is that you put the dry item like rice, dehydrated potatoes, pasta, any dry items into the bag. Then you put the oxygen absorber into the bag as well. And then you seal the bag. Once the bag is sealed, the oxygen absorber sucks all of the air out. And then there's no air, because air and light is what causes food to spoil. But using that method preserve food for years. Now, this is what the item can look like depending on what it is you're storing. It becomes compact, the air has been sucked out, and now you can put this away and you can be sure that this will be fine in 2 years' time. Another method is using mason jar with the oxygen absorber as well. So what you will do is put whatever item that you want that is dry. That can be rice, dehydrated vegetables. You put the oxygen absorber in, and then you have the seal is on. You close the lid, and then it'll take some time, but you will hear a pop. When you hear the pop, that means the jar is sealed and all of the air has been taken out. So like here, you hear that sound, it's not sealed. But once the air has been taken out, it's completely, you won't hear any sound at all. That way you know that the jar is sealed. So that is using the oxygen absorber method. Now another method with the mason jar is using the dry method with the oven. And that is putting dry items like beans, rice, flour into the jar, then into the oven at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. And then you take it out, then you put the cover on, this top cover on. This is on, and over time, in a few minutes, it will seal. And then again, you will not hear the sound. That is one method to preserve food. Once you do that, food can last for 10 years. Pasta, rice can last for many years using that method. So that is a great method to preserve food for long term. Mason jars are one of my favorite methods to preserve food. And the oxygen absorber, they come in different sizes depending on the size of the jar you're using and the size of the mason and the size of the Mylar bag that you're using. I will be posting links of how these are actually done, but right now I'm just showing you the methods. Now, another method to preserve food is using the dehydrator. Now, this is one of my favorite methods to use, is the dehydrator. This is the Western brand that I have, and this was not expensive, less than $100. But they do have the more expensive brands as well. They also come bigger with more levels. This here has 4 levels. And what you do is you just put the food that you want to dehydrate onto each level. You stack them up. Then you cover the trays and you will plug it in. This has one temperature, and it will dehydrate whatever you're dehydrating. Depending on what item it is, it can take just 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, or 7 hours. Just depend on the density of the product. So for example, when I do onions, it's a few hours, just a few hours, because onions are not, you cut it into slices and it dries very quickly. If you're doing like mushrooms or potatoes, those will take a little bit longer. But of course, I will be showing you, I will be posting videos of the actual way to do it. So that's another method to preserve food for long term. Once the vegetables are dehydrated, then you will put them into the mason jar or your Mylar bags, and you're good. Now, the next method is using something called the food saver. And this is also what you do. You attach this to this lid, and this you put on top of your mason jar, and you attach the cord to the lid, to the top of this lid, and that will suck the air out. You just plug it in and it will suck all of the air out. And that is another method to preserve food for long-term storage. This also has a seal, so you can use special bags. You can use bags like these that will seal the food. Now with that method, that is not going to be for like 4 or 5 years, and you wouldn't use that for very long-term storage. But with this method, you can definitely store food for weeks, months, even like up to 2 years, because when we buy food in a grocery store, it has an expiration date and it goes up to like 2 years. And when you seal this bag, this is actually even more sealed than if you buy certain items in a box. So this is actually longer, but it's not going to be good for like 5-10 years. The methods I showed you before is a much longer method for long term, because you're completely sealing, the container, and all of the area is being completely sealed. But this is pretty good, but I will not use this for preserving food for like many years in the future. So those are the methods that you can use to preserve food. I think it would be a good idea to start doing this if you haven't already. And then you can put the date of the item that you preserved the food. This way you know when you go back, like maybe a year later, you know what date it was that you packaged that item. So that's it. Mylar bags, mason jars, dehydrator, food saver. Those are great methods to use in order to preserve food for long term. And I really recommend it to start doing that now if you haven't already. Okay, so if you have any questions, please leave a message and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And also I will be leaving links of all the different methods of how to actually do this, how to preserve the foods. They're not complicated, they're simple, so try, okay? So until next time, take care. Bye-bye.